Welcome to the Influential Personal Brand Recap Edition. We are breaking down the interview with my friend Clint Salter. I am rolling solo on this episode. AJ is momming hard and doing her thing as a CEO. So occasionally I have to step in and just do the debriefs myself. But this interview is such a great interview to listen to. They all are, but specifically if you have this thought that you say, I don't want to limit my opportunity by serving a group that is too small. And this for sure is my first takeaway from the interview, because I've had this thought, and there's a good chance that you have had this thought. Like, we all think, I need a bigger market. I need more people to serve. I don't want to limit myself. And really, it's the opposite, right? You increase your opportunity by serving a smaller community in a deeper way. And I think that is really specific to personal brands, right? Like, it's different. If you watch Shark Tank, and a lot of the people that do deals on Shark Tank, they're not service-based businesses. They're not educational business. They're not personal brands, right? The sharks are interested in like widgets and things that can just be produced on mass scale. And so when they talk about like, what's the market for this, they need a big market because they're selling a low dollar transactional item, and it's just like one item and that's it. And that it's like, how many people need this, and how do they need it on a recurring basis? But that's very different, right? So like, you might see that kind of thing or get that kind of counsel in, say watching a show like Shark Tank or talking to other entrepreneurs. But when you look at personal brands, it's not so much, how can I create a product that has, like an information product that has mass appeal to millions and millions of people. It's not that would be bad. I mean, you see books that sell millions of copies, but you don't typically see video courses that sell millions of copies. I mean, even tens of thousands would be a lot. I mean, 10,000 customers buying one video course would be a lot. Even the really big membership sites and stuff, they often, have a couple thousand members on some type of a recurring payment. So for most of us, for most of you, Clint is such a great example of, you increase your opportunity as a personal brand, specifically in a service-based business or an information marketing type business, an educational type business offering of some type, and whether that is you have a small business service, but like when you're carving out your niche, it's who can I serve in the deepest way. So it's a small audience that you serve in a bigger way. I mean, he's got a multi-seven-figure business here dealing with dance studios. If you don't own a dance studio, there's a good chance you never heard of Clint Salter before today. But if you do own a dance studio, or if you have a friend that does, they probably know him. He dominates the space, or they know someone who knows him, because he's owning and occupying and expanding and serving in this space. I think there's always just such a draw to like, I need to have, millions of followers, and it's all about just like volume, like the total number of people. But, keep in mind that one way to make $1 million is that you only need 1,000 customers to buy $1,000 product, right? Think about that for a second. Like, there's multiple ways to get to $1 million, right? You could have 1 million people buy something that's $1, but for most personal brands, you're probably much more likely to get there by having 1,000 people buy something that's $1,000, right? 1,000 people is not that many people, and $1,000 is not that high a price point. But it's like, that's how you get there. And you go, I only need 1,000 people. I don't need to market to billions or hundreds of millions or really even millions of people. Like, I only need a couple thousand buyers. and I'll share this with you transparently, right? So Brand Builders Group, our like part of our mission is what we call 1,000 messengers. We're on a mission we want to have 1,000 messengers in our Pro Quarterly program, which is our flagship program. It's our one-on-one coaching program that also includes access to events, like 4 of our events a year, supplemental. We only need 1,000 customers in that program to like achieve everything we want and be able to provide the level of income that we want for our team, and you know, just have an extraordinary business, an 8-figure business, a lifestyle business, and we just need 1,000 customers. So it's like, we're not trying to be everything to everyone, to be all the places all the time. It's like, we're looking for 1,000 personal brands that are serious about building and monetize their personal brand, that want to follow a process and want to have a roadmap and a proven checklist for that thing, for building a personal brand. That's why it's like, we don't work with companies. It's not that we couldn't. It's not that our expertise doesn't apply to companies. It's just that we've narrowed our focus based on a couple things. First of all, we've narrowed our model to one-on-one coaching. And here's, I'm going to give you a little framework. I've never shared this before, but if you're trying to niche down, there's kind of 3 different M's here, okay, in terms of how you can niche down. And you can mix and match these combinations. So the first M is your market. Okay, so that's who you're selling to. So Clint is a great example of niching down his market based on who, right? That is, he's going after dance studio owners, very specific. Brand Builders Group is going after personal brands. You know, we're going after coaches, trainers, authors, speakers, consultants, entrepreneurs, and financial advisors, you know, service-based businesses, network marketers, you know, fitness people, but it's a face, right? We're helping people who are looking to like promote their own personal message. That is also a decision, a strategic decision to focus on a narrow market. So that's the first M, is market. The second M is model. Your business model is you can actually serve a narrow model. So Brand Builders is another thing that we do. Our model is unique. We offer one-on-one coaching, right? There's a lot of people who teach video courses. There's a lot of people who have events. There's a lot of people who do masterminds. There's a lot of people who do monthly membership sites. And part of when we came into the space is based on our experience, also based on our passion to like really work in a deep way with people one-on-one, is to do one-on-one coaching. One of our strategists talks to our clients, have a strategist they talk to every single month. That's a unique model. The business model is different, right? If you look at Uber, okay, Uber didn't target a different market. Well, actually, so Uber isn't a great example. They're a better example of the next M that I'll talk about. So what is the model? In other words, what is the mechanism in which, you know, you make money? And is there a different way of charging for something? You know, financial advisors had a big transition, or a lot of them are in a big transition of model, where it used to be like, you know, commission based, or they would get paid per transaction, and now they move over to fee based. That's a whole market of that's a whole group of people, a whole industry that is like migrating their business model. So if you're looking to differentiate, it could be who you serve. It also could be how you serve them, which is the business model. And then the third M is the method. The method is what you provide to them is actually different, right? So we also at Brand Builders Group like to think that our curriculum, I mean, it is unique, it is proprietary. The vast majority of the things that we teach in our curriculum are our own original frameworks, our proprietary IP, intellectual property, things that we have developed. But, you know, certainly some of it is principles that exist that lots of people talk about related to digital marketing. But again, we're tailoring it to the personal brand. So, you know, those are 3 different M's. that would all help you. So the market is who you serve, the model is how you serve them, making money, and then the method is what you're actually doing for those people. So to me, I guess I would say, like Uber disrupted the taxi space. I would call that a different method. It was a different way of doing business. So it was still the same model, which is that you're charging riders per ride. So it's the same business model as a taxi. It's the same market. It's people who take short-term transportation, but the method was different. Was instead of taxi drivers, of which there are a few, you take the entire, pretty much anybody with a car, and you turn them into the providers. So it created new providers. It's a different model, or a different method. A different model is like charging for a completely different type of delivery model. So I would think about this as like all of these homemade meal plans, right? So there's people who are in the market for home cooked, ready to make meals. Okay. And so historically that would be like, Domino's pizza delivery and, maybe Chinese food and like delivery, but there weren't like a lot of healthy options. And then nowadays you see all of these home delivery healthy food being delivered to your home, so Hello Fresh and whatever, Fresh and Lean is the one that we just tried. Our kids are on, we have our little kids on Little Spoon. And we've used a number of them, but healthy food used to only be restaurant. And now there's this new emergence of a new model, which is shipped healthy food, pre-made, shipped directly to your house. That's a different model. It's a completely different mechanism, but you're still serving the same, market. But in that scenario, I would say that the method is the same. It's still health food. The thing you're buying is still this kind of like the same, but it's different in terms of how you're receiving that service. So anyways, the point here is for you, whether you're differentiating based on your market, based on your method and your message, or based on your business model, there's a lot of ways to niche down. And we all think, I don't want to restrict myself, right? Like I don't want to think too small. But serving a specific audience is not the same as thinking small. And in many cases, like Clint is demonstrating, it can be bigger. People say the riches are in the niches, because you're serving people in a deeper way, right? Like we are able to serve personal brands in a much deeper way than any just normal marketing advertising firm who services companies. Just number one, we're a strategy firm, right? So we're advising on all the moving parts: digital marketing, messaging, your audience, like technology, copywriting, ads, speaking, books, publishing, launches, funnels, the whole thing, just for personal brands. So if somebody just teaches those same things to everybody, they've got a lot more masters. Whereas we can just go, man, we only serve personal brands. And if that's you, we can serve you in a deep way. If it's not you, you're not the fit for Brand Builders Group. Doesn't mean you can't learn from us, right? Doesn't mean you might still not enjoy the podcast, but it means we're not the best fit for you. Now I've got books and stuff on my personal brand that people learn from, but don't lose to the idea that, by niching down too small, I'm limiting myself. It's almost always the opposite, because you can serve them in a bigger way. All right, the second big idea, the second takeaway or highlight for me from Clint was really something he said about the mentality. And what he said was, he used the word experiment. He said, I told myself I would just treat this as a year-long experiment. And I love that idea. I love the idea of taking the pressure off of yourself from like having to succeed or meet some expectation of like, this is only successful if whatever, and instead just going, let's just treat this as a fun experiment. It reminds me of one of our brand builders group clients who's also a strategist. In fact, we're going to have her on the show here, Hillary, because Hillary experimented with TikTok. And she did this little experiment with like, maybe I'll hop on TikTok and see if I can make some fun videos. And she generated over 500,000 views, 500,000 followers, not views. It's hundreds of millions of views, or tens of millions of views, but it is 500,000 followers in less than 2 months. 2 months, like 60 days, 500,000 followers just by an experiment. Clint was kind of like the same thing. It's like, I'll treat this as an experiment. I'll service this community. This sounds like it could be fun. And then maybe it turns into something. And maybe that's you. Maybe you have too much pressure on yourself right now. Maybe you are feeling like you're not successful because you're not achieving some number, some income or whatever. And maybe you need to hear that and go, you know what? I'm just going to treat this as an experiment. If it works out, amazing. If it doesn't, that's totally fine. But I'm just going to do it for a year. I'm going to commit to, some period of time. I'm not going to just like have one foot in and one foot out, so to speak, but I'm going to just play and see what happens. And that's so valuable. And I think that's so important. And, even when you get into, in the brand builders group curriculum, in phase one, we help you create your positioning. Phase two, we help you build the infrastructure to support your personal brand. In phase three is where we really start to blow the brand up and really create exponential growth. And one of our events there is called High Traffic Strategies, and that's paid traffic acquisition. Well, when we do paid ads, we experiment. Right? Everything we do is like, we're going to drop a few ads out there. We're going to put a few dollars behind them. And I'm talking like, could be $10, could be $50, like at the most, right? Probably never more than $100, but it's like, could be 10 or $20. We just want to see which ads perform the best and then put more money behind the winners. It's just an experiment, right? There's not any pressure at that first phase. It's just like, let's see what happens. And if you are just kind of like bound by this demand for perfection, or if you're creating the pressure of expectations, or if someone else is putting expectations on you, maybe just let that release, right? Just like release that and let it go and say, what can I do as an experiment? What am I drawn to that sounds kind of like it would be fun, and go with that and see what happens. In the case of Clint, it became this, one business that was then sold, that led to another business, to now, this multi-7-figure recurring membership company. And he's doing what he loved. He's combined, the dance and business and like pulled this together. And, I think that's good permission. It was good for me to hear and be reminded like, oh yeah, it doesn't all have to succeed. Like, it's fine for it to be an experiment. So that was my second thing. My third big takeaway, which is kind of related to the idea of saying, hey, I'm going to make a business decision to serve a niche, which was, kind of the very first takeaway, is when he said, this is what he said. He said, I was able to deliver massive value because I knew them. So on top of just the strategic kind of logical business decision to niche down, there is this like emotional reason to do it, which is that you know them. And if you've never heard me say this before, write this down. This is something that we say a lot at Brand Builders. You are always most powerfully positioned to serve the person you once were. You are most powerfully positioned to serve the person that you once were. Why? Because you know them. It's exactly what Clint said. You know the space. You know the fears. You know the frustrations. You know the roadblocks. You know the worries. You know the challenges. And if you've made it through that, you know the solutions, you know the shortcuts, you know the hacks, you know where there needs to be hard work. And if you know their challenges, then you can speak to people in such a profound and succinct and poignant way that they hear you, and you break through the noise because you're speaking their language. It's why we say that calling on your heart is the result of a signal that's being sent out by someone else. Is when we help you find your uniqueness in phase one, we're helping you figure out who is the person out there sending that signal and what are you feeling drawn to. And when we can match those two together, it's like even though you could be in a room full of noise, right? And there could be just this loud like chatter at a party that you couldn't hear. The moment that someone says your name, it's like this precision, this level of precision of poignant clarity that cuts through all of this noise. And that's what you want your marketing to do, specifically your positioning and your messaging and the words that you're using, is you want it to send out this very succinct, poignant, sharp, clear, precise signal that says, this is what I do, this is who I do it for, because this is who I am, because this is who I have been, because I have been you. I have been in your shoes. I have been in your seat. I have had your fears. I have had your worries. I have had your concerns. I have overcome the roadblocks that you have overcome. That is the connection of a calling. It's the power of a guide, somebody who says, I know what it's like to be you because I have been you. That is transformational. It occurs almost as divine, and that is what you want to do. And it's just like that is serving people in a deeper way, both from a monetary, business, empirical, logical, strategic standpoint, and from an emotional, artistic, profound passion standpoint. You are most powerfully positioned to serve the person that you once were. And if you haven't figured that out, that is why we exist at Brand Builders Group, to serve personal brands, because we know what it is like to try to build and monetize your brand, to want to make impact, to want to make a difference in the world, to want to do good, and to want to make more income, like to make enough income to like achieve your dreams and be able to give and tithe and donate and support and invest and whatever it is, right? Like, it's not that we don't like making money. We do like making money. We believe in making money. It's just that we know that you're here because you are a mission-driven messenger, that you want to make impact, and that you feel like you have some message inside of you. And because that's you, that's why we're here. We're here for you, because of you, to serve you, because that is who we are and who we have been. So thanks for being here. Keep coming back. Hopefully you enjoyed the interview with Clint Salter as well as this recap edition, and just keep tuning in. We're going to be here to encourage you and educate you and occasionally entertain you. We wish you all the best for now. We'll catch you next time on The Influential Personal Brand.